Iloma Ene, and welcome to another episode of the Clean Tech Pod, where we foster necessary conversations about clean energy and sustainable development. On today's episode, we have a distinguished guest whose work is at the intersection of policy, programs, and partnership for sustainable development. He's a director of programs, policy, and partnerships at the African Project Development Center. Let's meet with him.
My name is Maaruf Yakub. I am the Director of Programs, Policy and Partnership at the Africa Projects Development Center. And my role is around programs, policies and partnerships. So I help in engaging in all programs that the center implements. And I also ensure that it aligns with global policies and also bringing together all the partnerships that are required for our job to be done on the continent.
Welcome to today's episode, sir. We are happy to have you on this episode. Let's get started. What inspired your career in development programming and policy, and how did it lead you to your current role at the African Projects Development Center?
Okay, far back as around 2010, that is 2010, when I had just gained admission into University of Ibadan. I always wanted to be part of something big, something global, contribute to well-being of people in the world. So I decided that aside other associations that people join in school, I decided I needed to join one or two global organizations. And then in school there was IAS, that is the International Association of Agric Students, and also there was another UN agency then. But then it was the student arm of it. So that was my beginning, or that was my first journey. So in that organization, what we do basically is to try to encourage people to go into agriculture, to do agriculture as a business. And I was able to support the organization. We did a whole lot of things then, where we were able to support up to about 5,000 secondary school children, helping them understand the benefits of home gardening, school gardens, eating well, and all sorts. And we were able to also organize continental events where we traveled to some countries, Benin Republic, Cote d'Ivoire, and so on, around Africa mainly. And through that, I was able to also learn from other people, their practices, the problems they face, issues they're having, and I was able to channel that into the work I'm doing now. And I think for me, that was how it started. And then when I was done with my school, I immediately went back for my MSc, because I know that part of the basis of development activities is research. You need to be grounded in research to really know what to do, what the problems are, and to provide solutions, especially adopting solutions from other places. So, and when I was done with that too, I looked for an agency that would really help me with my personal desire or my goals in life. So I approached the Africa Projects Development Center. Before they would say the throw out calls for people to apply.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't wait for them to throw out calls. I went to the gates and then I knocked, and then I told them I wanted to do the job. And initially, they were not paying.
Wow.
So I did it for free, because that was what I wanted to do. Because they were not open for my position. There was nothing like that. I was the one that came and said, okay, I have something to contribute.
You were ready for impact.
Yeah. So that was just it. So I just felt I needed to do something about the situation. And one of the biggest problems we are facing is unemployment.
Yeah.
There's a big problem of unemployment. And earlier we're responding to that through we're responding to that through creating employment, reviewing CVs and all. Yeah, that solves the problem. But one central solution is how many enterprises or how many businesses are created If many businesses are created, then many employment opportunities will be created. And since then, I took that as a main central program in what we are doing. And at Africa Projects Development Center, we developed the agribusiness program, where we train young people in agribusiness, not only for them to work within agribusiness firms or agriculture firms, but for them to create agribusinesses that would then employ more people. And then we looked at that, we saw that there was a problem with women participating in these agribusinesses. So we decided to look at the whole value chain. Where do women fit more? So they fit into post-production activities. So we're talking about processing and all that. And later we still realized that there was still a huge gap that needed to be filled. What other sector could take care of that? So we looked at creative enterprises, that is creative arts, and we established the creative art enterprises. And under the creative art enterprises, we wanted things that people could do with their hands, things like cloth making, things like makeup artistry, things like guillotine, things like, and so on. So those were the skills that we really developed, and we created curriculums around them. We did a lot of trainings around that, and we supported a lot of people. Up to about 310 people have gone through the program, and we are also bringing in a new set soon, which the cohort 8. About 30 or more, depending on the amount of resources we're able to secure. But the call is out, so 30 minimum. And under that program, we also now thought of something again, that because we saw nutrition as a problem. People are not eating healthy.
Exactly.
And the food we have out there, they are not safe. Really. If you go to the street now, those guys that are selling by the roadside, you see them selling chips and all those things. Those chips sometimes are not prepared properly, and people will just buy them and say, let me just snack on it. And the most dangerous thing about the nutrition sector or the food we eat is that the results, that is the problems or the challenges that come with the food, sometimes do not happen immediately. They happen after a long period of time. So for instance, you've been eating a particular kind of, or you've been eating a particular kind of meal that is not safe, probably improperly prepared, and it may not affect you now. You may just be having running stomach, and then you go to the toilet and you feel you're okay, but somehow probably your kidney is getting killed or your liver is getting affected, and you will not know, because these guys are silent, they're inside. So we saw that as a big problem. And we decided, many people eat in restaurants. That's another funny thing. And restaurants just want to make money. They just want to make money. So sometimes people need to really look into these aspects and see how we can balance advocacy for good food and the business that these guys want to do. They have to make money. So that was when we established the Nutripreneurs program. So the Entrepreneurs program basically is around combining advocacy and nutrition and entrepreneurship into one box. And so far we've been able to also support a whole lot of youths. In total, in all our programs, we supported over 7,000 youths, not just in Nigeria, but also Uganda, DRC. And we're looking to even expand. So that's it.
I can see you prioritizing, like from creating employment to seeing that women can fit into some jobs, and you bringing in nutrition and trying to balance it with their businesses. From your experience, what are the key policy shifts that African countries like Nigeria must prioritize to drive inclusion and sustainable development?
They actually, for me, this has been something I've always thought about, because the country we are in, we have some deficiencies. One is data. We don't have data. Our data policy, I don't know, it's not really strong, or we've not gotten to where we are supposed to be. And I actually feel that if we have data, then we'll be able to look at two things that really affect the people. Yes, I know there have been policies around agriculture, there have been policies around energy, there have been policies around tax and all those things, and all these things are being reviewed. But two key areas that I think or I know that if we respond to them well, we're going to improve the human capital index of our country. And that is where even developed countries, that was what they did. They first started with the people. And these two key areas, one is education.
Education.
All forms of education. We need to create policies that, one, makes education easy for people. So let me give an example. When I was in school, all my school fees from 100 level to 500 level was just about, I don't think it was up to 400,000. All my school fees, University of Ibadan. But now, it's very, very expensive.
Very, very.
I know there is NEL fund, there is the loan that they are giving to students. But then, there are some people who do not take loans as part of their culture. I'll give an example. We're implementing a program some years back, I think in 2022, and we're able to secure some loans at a specific interest rate for young people, for youths, to be able to do their agribusinesses or their creative arts or their nutrition businesses. And what we discovered was that Muslims, for instance, cannot take interest loans. They can't. It's their religion. Now, does these loans or these funds that we've put in place to solve education problem, do they consider this group of people who do not want to take interest loans, or those people who do not even want to take loans? So we need to find ways to create the policies, or to make the policies more acceptable, to make it more inclusive to as many people as possible. So that is one aspect. And also the education we're looking at, I'm not just looking at the formal education system, I'm looking at the informal education system, the technical and vocational education systems. Things like trainings in renewable energy, for instance. Are they institutionalized? How much do people know about them? What policies are driving people towards those kind of technical and vocational education programs? So, and they exist. The MBTE program, for instance, the federal government TVET MBTE program that was recently launched. It is there for people to actually apply to, but people don't even know that they can apply. And most of these applications, talking about inclusivity again, most of these applications are usually online. Meanwhile, the informal youths, that is those guys that rob us on the streets, steal our phones, carry knife, and commit crime. Those guys are, how do I put it? Those guys do not have time to be browsing the internet. They've lost hope. They've really lost hope. Yeah. So education, that is that, informal and formal, we need to settle that. We need to create policies that are inclusive, and we need to do things around them that creates the ecosystem that allows people to participate in programs by the government. Secondly, health. And health spans across many things. Health spans across nutrition of the people, of the children. I know recently we established the homegrown food program, that is the federal government again, where secondary school or primary school pupils will be given food in school. Brilliant initiative. In fact, I will commend it, because it not only protects us for the future, it encourages the children to go to school, because every day they'll be like, I'm going to school, I want to go and eat mushroom, I want to go and eat egg, and that is why I'm going to school. So they will go to school. That is one. And again, it helps their brains develop well if they are eating before school, because many children before the homegrown program, or many of these programs, many of them were not eating very well. They go to school hungry, they come back hungry, and all those things.
No, not even a balanced diet.
No balanced diet. So this particular program by the federal government, I'll say it's a good thumbs up. And the model that they are adopting again is one that it is not in the hands of anybody. It is still in the hands of the parents. So the parents are still the ones that will provide the food, but the government will provide the support to the parents. So this policy, I believe, is inclusive, and I know that it could work. So that is health, nutrition, just nutrition. But generally, we also need to encourage insurance schemes so that when people are sick, they do not need to spend so much money, all the big money, to take care of themselves. They already have the insurance scheme. And could these insurance schemes be could we do it in such a way that it's a trust fund? Could there be a health trust fund? Those are the things I'm thinking. And I think I read somewhere in the new tax review that we're going to start in 2026, January 1st, 2026. It was stated there that there's going to be a trust fund for health, which I think is good. That means every company, every business, every taxpayer would contribute into that trust fund for health.
As we are contributing for HMO.
As we are contributing for HMO, as they say. The thing is, now that we have that, then we can easily have a pocket where we can say, okay, this group of people, or this community, or this states should get this as a result of this. So I believe those two things are important. But then there are other things like governance. We need to create policies around governance that tackle corruption issues, that allows even government officials to be answerable to the law. Because I know all of them are asking for immunity these days, and it may not be so good. If everybody is immune, then all of them will do as they want, and it may not be good for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it basically on policies.
Yeah, this is very insightful, and you've made mention of a lot of prioritization, and the models you've been using, some successful partnership models you've worked on or observed that have delivered real impact in communities as adapted programs.
Okay, there have been several of them.
I know you've mentioned a couple of them.
I would say there is this the African Union. They are doing some good work in policy areas, especially trying to connect the continent. And I wouldn't want to blame, but I would want to state that some countries are not helping.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. There are some countries that have specific rules for specific countries when it comes to travel policies. And I'll give an example. There was a time I was in Uganda, and they allowed many other countries to get visa on arrival, but Nigerians are not allowed to get visa on arrival in Uganda.
Wow.
But European countries get visa on arrival. Some European countries do not even need visa to go to Uganda. But Nigeria, as a country in Africa, needs visa to go to Uganda. That's an example. And it's not just in Uganda alone, it's in Tunisia. Tunisia will tell you, for example, that about 3 countries cannot come and get visa on arrival. I think Nigeria is one of them. So Nigeria is supposed to be the big brother of Africa.
Yeah.
So if there are these policies that targeting Nigerians, then it's something we need to look at. What is our standing? Recently I read a report that said the Nigerian passport has improved from its global rating of 99 in the world or so to 88. Somebody now wrote there F9 to F9. It's progress. I love the progress, but we need to do more. It's big progress. We moved by 10 positions. It's big progress, but we need to do more. Because as a country that houses the largest black people in the world, I think we should have a grand standing in terms of contributing to policies and issues. And again, I read some months back where on the Global Security Council, that is the UN Security Council, there's no African country there. So these are issues. So these are issues that we as a continent we need to look at. And if we really want to push those issues, if we really want to push for recognition or our place in the world, one thing that we need to know as a continent is that we need one country or two countries to lead. Because if we internally we are preventing countries like Nigeria with the highest number of black people, how do you expect Europeans to treat Africa? So these are the issues that we need to think about as a continent. Yeah.
That's amazing. So how can institutions like yours better integrate skin technology, microcredit and gender equality into broader Nigerian programs?
Yeah, let me say, for us, basically, our central goal is job creation. So if there is any venture or any idea out there that creates jobs for young people especially, then we are always happy to participate in it. We had some discussions with Plastic Build. Plastic Build is a firm in Lagos State, and what they do is converting plastic wastes into shoes. So the guy makes shoe. He calls it Ecobata. Okay, so he maybe they are the ones, but the guy he said he calls it Ecobata. He converts plastic wastes into shoes and all that.
Even laptop bags.
I even saw a laptop, a weaved laptop bag, and it was so strong and durable. And these are things that we could even export. But we are not yet looking at the export markets because of the difficulty that comes with exporting, the requirements, and sometimes because it is coming from Nigeria, the reviews are more serious. I don't know. Or maybe because it's coming from Africa, the way they are being looked at. Yeah. So we as a firm, that is the Africa Project Development Center, we are key on creating job opportunities, and we've looked at recycling and recycling and reuse as one area that could create many jobs, because we have a lot of wastes in the country, plastic waste most especially, and this plastic waste cannot break down
at all,
so they will continue to constitute waste. But the reality, according to what someone told me, is that these things are not really waste. They are just in a different form that needs to be reformed. So if you have a plastic bottle, it's not waste. All you need to do is convert that plastic bottle that you threw away or you want to throw away into something that is useful. You could turn it into a planting bath pots or something. You could cut it into, you shred it into pieces and use it to make bags, use it to make gloves, use it to make hats and so on. And these are all opportunities, these are businesses, these are jobs. So for us, we are looking to really go into this sector. This year was our target. This year is our target, and we are on it to really go into reuse and recycling as a major part of our programs, especially because of its opportunity, the opportunity it presents to young people creating jobs. What we need to actually look at is how can we cluster these groups?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the next question. What strategy now do you think, like your own organization, what strategy do you think that will work for this?
Yeah, I think one system that has worked across many businesses has been the cluster system, as I mentioned. If there is a way you could create a cluster where there is an ecosystem of activities, there is market available, the producers are available, the suppliers are available, and that is the suppliers of the waste, of the raw materials, they are available, the producers or the reusers are also on ground, and then the marketers on ground. If we could create an ecosystem like that, I'm sure we would be able to get a lot of support in that area, a lot of support, because I know that there are several programs, continental programs, in fact global programs that support reuse and recycling. But the winning formula or this winning strategy would be if we could create a cluster or clusters in various locations where, like a hub, creating hubs.
Okay. Yeah. As the director of programs, I know there are challenges and gaps between policy design and implementation. So how do you ensure that high-level strategies are truly observed by the youth of Nigeria?
Okay, I think the central thing is the approach to policy designs in the first place. Most times, or many times, policies are designed from top to bottom and not from bottom to top.
Okay.
So if we begin to look at policies from the bottom, have community meetings, have stakeholder gatherings, collect as much information. I'm not talking about the high level stakeholders now. Because when anybody wants to do policies, you'll be hearing them saying we want high level meeting, high level. And most times when you see this high level, it is usually a top bottom approach. So if we really want the people to be involved in policies and all those things, it has to be bottom top approach. So we have to get it from the grassroots. So we have to go to the last mile, not get things from the top to the last mile, but from the last mile to the top. That is the only way we can actually get the people involved in policy.
So far so good. This has been so insightful, and without wasting much of your time, what do you envision from 5 to 10 years? How do you see young professions, emerging leaders position themselves? Like, how do you see them contributing meaningful to this policy and partnerships in Africa?
That is young professionals.
Yes.
I think the good thing about young professionals contributing is that they are able to understand the story. Because most times everything is defined around the story. What happened? What led to it? What was the context? What was the situation at that time? Because sometimes we want to adapt something that does not have the same situation or does not have the same story to something else that has another story. And we get it wrong.
Yes.
But as young professionals, as emerging leaders, we are able to learn while it is happening. We are able to understand the context. So that whenever we now want to scale or adapt or we want to do them another time, then we'll know the real situation that led to the establishment in the first place. So I believe that is where it's important to always have young people or young professionals being in the high level discussions, which sometimes very rare. Most times when I go for these high level meetings, I'm the youngest.
Wow.
And I don't really enjoy that.
It's okay, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Maaruf Yakub, for sharing such a rich, insightful conversation today. On this episode, I learned that things are not done in isolation, and we should collaborate a lot and be community-centered. We should provide solutions to some things, and we should be abiders of laws. That's how it is. So, thank you for joining us on this episode. See you next time. Same station.